Hey, what's up, everybody? I am here with a great friend of mine, one of the top agents in our entire company, the man himself, Mr. Kevin Riley. Welcome on, Mr. Riley. How are you today?
I'm doing excellent. How you doing today, Aaron?
Doing well, doing well. I like to call this guy right here on the monitor, I like to call him the $4 million man because, like clockwork, no joke, no matter what happens, this guy sells $4 million worth of real estate every single month. So, not many people can do that month after month after month. Some people get lucky, they have a great month, and they come in and they can do, they can do 4 million bucks, but to do it month after month after month is incredible. Kevin, I got to ask you, why don't we just jump right into it, right? You do it month after month. How do you do that? How do you stay so focused that you can pump out $4 million worth of business every month?
Well, I've had some good mentorship. I can say that. So one of the things that you taught me pretty early on was make you got to be efficient with your time, right? So
Right.
spinning your wheels, that's a lesson learned. Becoming more efficient, those are lessons through this process at doing this at a high level. But one of the things you taught me early on was make 90-95% of what I do money making activity. And so that's what I stay focused on every single day. So
Right.
it's the leads and the prospects that I see right in front of my face that I can get them from point A to point Z the quickest. And so constantly staying in touch with my mentors and discussing these and coming up with a game plan every week has helped me stay focused and be able to do this at a higher level than a lot of people.
That's awesome. Kevin, I think that you said something extremely well, right? Which is you focus 90% of your time, 95% of your time on dollar productive activities, right? Where if it's not a dollar productive activity, it waits until you have the time to be able to do it. That's what successful people do is they focus their time on what's going to generate revenue, and you've become a master of that. Kevin, let's walk everybody through because prior to coming to the brokerage house, and you've been here 5, 6 years now?
June will be 7 years.
7 years. Time flies, man, when we're having fun. So we're getting up on 7 years, with you as part of the team, a big part of the team. Before joining the brokerage house, you didn't have a big sales background. Maybe walk everybody through kind of your work history, your background there, and what led you to real estate.
Sure. Well, I think one of my biggest factors is my work ethics, right? So my dad owned a landscaping company growing up, so I did that every day, every weekend, and so that kind of is what started my work ethics. And I went straight out of high school into the military. I did that for a number of years. I was an over-the-road truck driver. I was in that industry for about a decade before I realistically hit a glass ceiling. I didn't have a college degree, so I ended up getting out of that, took a big chance, big risk in my life, took myself back to college, got my degree. And then while I was finishing that up, that's when real estate kind of sparked my interest. And I started, watching videos, going to seminars, and just kind of educating myself what it's going to take. And then I jumped into this, getting my real estate license with both feet. I always tell the story. I interviewed 20 other companies before I interviewed with you. And you were the last one that I interviewed with, and it was for a good reason. And I saw value at that time. I still see the value in what we do to this day. And so that's kind of how my career started. But when I started, there was no way that I was going to even embrace any failure whatsoever. It just was never in my head to do that. And with your leadership and my other mentorship, this has been a pretty interesting career so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. What I see from you every day, and I know everybody around us can attest to that, is, work ethic is key, right? You come every day, you grind it out, you're always pushing forward, and I tell people this all the time that things don't always go your way, right? Like not everything's going to go your way, but you just continue pushing through, and that's what successful people do is they just push through even when things aren't going their way, and they ultimately hit their goal. So Kevin, you started off, 7 years with us and had success, almost immediately. You started off and you were like a steam train kind of coming, and there was not any slowing you down. What do you think was the difference between you and a lot of new agents who get into the industry that aren't successful? What do you think kind of set you apart?
And so now what I have the ability to do now is mentor and help other people. And this is one of the things that I talk with them about is self accountability. So once you start getting your mind into that negative energy, you start blaming other people when it's very cancerous, that negative energy. So what I do is I take self accountability for everything that I do. A door slamming in my face, somebody telling me no, a mistake that I make, right? It's going to be my fault. I'm not going to blame it on somebody else. And I think if you have the ability to do that at a very high level, it's a life changer. It's just something that you can use as a tool, a positive tool, and not only in your business life, but your personal life too. So self accountability is a key thing that I look for when I'm wanting to work with other agents.
Right. No, absolutely. No, that's great. I mean, a lot of people, and you're right, Kevin. I mean, a lot of folks out there, new agents, people outside of our industry, whatever, right? They're always looking for it to be somebody else's problem, why they can't be successful or why they can't succeed. Or they're looking at, you know, something that happened to them as something that's happening to them. Somebody's doing that to them rather than them kind of creating their own environment and creating their own, I guess, atmosphere or space, right? And that's the thing. It's you got to own everything that happens for you and to you. You got to own it all because you're putting yourself in those positions to win, but then you're also putting yourself in the positions to take the losses too. And being able to have that self accountability and that self awareness cuts through a lot of bullshit. It cuts through a lot of that stuff where, you sit there and you blame other people or you blame, whatever, is going on in your life. And you can just get right down to what it was, what you did, and how you can fix it, right? It's the quickest way to success. So, Kevin, obviously you sell, $4 million a month, right? And you're in a market where your average price point isn't $1 million. It's not like you're going out and just popping off $4 million houses, right? You probably have an average price point of, what do you think, about 400,000?
About 400. Yeah.
So you're selling about 10 houses a month.
Yeah, at least.
At least 10 houses a month. Right. So what do you do to keep yourself sane in handling 10 houses a month in June? Then you're putting another 10 in escrow in July. Right? Yeah. Maybe you got a couple more that roll over from May. How do you keep yourself sane day to day, dealing with those customers, and then going out and meeting new ones?
Right. $1 million question, right?
Right.
This is one of the very first questions that I get from our newer people. But I think the best or the biggest factor is going to be just task. I call it task management. So what's happening right now? What I need to do, and then once I get everything done right now, so there's no better power than right now. As soon as a conflict comes up, we're going to deal with it. We're going to talk to everybody we need to. We're going to squash it. We're going to stay on the phone until it's dealt with that first time, rather than trying to just minimize it and then get off the phone, and then the problem gets bigger and bigger. So these are tools to be more efficient, right? So, right. And then once I do that, and I'm doing this every day nonstop. And so once I get past the now task, it's what's happening, later today, what's happening tomorrow, what's happening 2 days from now, what's happening this next week. And so I'm constantly thinking and just reminding myself, I got a Rolodex that I'm constantly going over in my head. I look at my calendar, I look at my follow-up boss, I look at the tools and the resources that the company provides to help me be efficient at that. But there's one thing that I've learned: you can't be scared to talk to people hard and difficult situations. And if you're timid, then this isn't the place for you.
Right.
And I think I think just having the tenacity and courage to constantly deal with everything as it's coming at me is one of the biggest factors to keep me sane.
Right, absolutely. Being organized. I think that one of the key things that you said there too, Kevin, is addressing things as they come in, right? How many times do people put things off? I'll deal with it tomorrow. I don't feel like dealing with it today. And then it just festers in your brain and becomes worse and worse and worse. And then, a one conversation issue turns into a 2 day, 3 conversation mental anxiety nightmare, right? So I completely agree with you. Kevin, I'm going to ask you 2 more questions that I think are everybody's going to want to know. Everybody who's out there listening, everybody who's out there watching you, I think there's 2 questions that everybody's going to want to know. Okay? The first is, and this is for new agents coming into our organization or people who are watching our YouTube, our Instagram, or whatever it is, right? Maybe they're a new agent. They're getting ready to get in the business, or they've been at a place, a brokerage, and they're fluttering and they're not having success. What advice do you have? If you could go back and do it again, what advice would you have for somebody who's brand new getting into the business?
I think one of the quickest lessons I had to learn in my career was, people kind of change when it comes to money. For a lot of people, this is their biggest financial asset that they have. For the majority of people, so when people tell us things, a lot of times it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's not reality. It's just how somebody emotionally reacts to a situation. And it took me a couple months to figure that out. And this was after you and Dustin, the mentors in the company, told me, that's exactly what was happening.
Right.
So not believing everything that people tell you.
Right.
And that kind of sounds awkward, right? Just even
Right.
saying it out loud, but that's the truth in reality. Money makes people change.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the toughest things about the business, right? Is that if you're not like that in your life, it's hard to relate to that, right? Like no amount of money is going to cause me to sell out my friends, my family, people that I respect. It's not worth it, right? You learn that over time as you do more and more deals, right? No one deal is worth your integrity, right? I always tell people this, Kevin, and I know you live by the same rule, is it takes you a lifetime to earn somebody's trust, but in one bad move, you can lose it forever. Kevin, the second question that I have for you, bud, is this. You can have people who are struggling in the business, people who are maybe an average producer. Maybe they're selling a house every couple months, or they're selling a couple houses every 6 months, and they're trying to become, a Kevin Riley. They want to sell 10 houses a month, $4 million a month, right? That's what they want to do. They want to sell 10 houses, $4 million a month. What advice do you have for somebody who's looking to take that step from being an average person, average producer, to the top of the mountain?
Well, I mean, first off, you gotta live your life that way, right? So you gotta fake it until you make it. You have to do all the necessary steps that it takes. Waking up early, being the first one there, pounding the phone, getting in your car and driving. Putting the client above your own, personal gain per se.
Right.
Not whenever you make anything about yourself, it's quickly going to be seen by that client, or and that's what you don't want. You don't want somebody to see that you are hungry. You just want to be hungry. Again, you can't be a victim. You got to get out and just take accountability. I don't know. I guess it's hard for me to formulate the words because I do it.
Right.
I just do it.
It's not one specific thing. It's a whole way of being, almost.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, in all reality, it took me about 6 months before one day I woke up and I'm like, man, I'm a real estate agent. And so then I just lived my life. The people you talk to, at the grocery store, at the gas station, the neighbor, whatever, you're now a real estate agent, and you're projecting that to the community.
Right.
And And if you do that, people see who you are, just like the policemen that we see or the doctors that we see. Now they're seeing you as a real estate agent.
Right.
Community line of information, that they could go through you. And I
Right.
think that if you just become that, then that's who you'll be.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to tell you this. This is the episode of the year right here with Mr. Kevin Riley. Kevin, it's been a great honor to be able to have you do this with me today. It's always great to see you. I'm so appreciative of your time. I know how busy you are. And for everybody out there listening, hopefully you've enjoyed our episode today. If you've enjoyed it, you have questions, you have comments, go ahead and leave those down below. We answer all of those things. And if you're a big fan of the content that we put out here today, big fan of this video, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and encourage us to continue putting out more content for you. Thank you.